And thank you for joining us for another edition of Hoops Hitting Gems podcast. I'm your host, David Jones. Want to thank everybody for coming in tonight as we do a little holiday edition tonight. Happy New Year's to everybody. Hope everybody got home safe and didn't do anything somewhat out of pocket. But if not, you're home. If you're watching this, that means you're safe, and that's all that matters. We have another great show tonight, as usual. And, I always like to mix up levels, whether it's D1, D2, D3, and, NAI, JUCO. And, I like to do the men's and women's. So tonight we do have a mixture. And tonight our first guest, good friend of mine, he's coaching in my hometown as well, even though I'm in Atlanta. Coach Dave Sauer out of Chatham University in Pittsburgh, PA. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great, watching some good college football and enjoying the new year.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, I see Alabama and Michigan are going at it, definitely.
They are.
And so, like I said, as we were talking backstage, for the people that don't know about Chatham, that's why I texted you and said, hey, man, will you come on the show and talk about Chatham, talk about your conference, talk about everything you do, and just talk about, the good brand of basketball at Chatham.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it starts our athletic director, Leonard Trevino, got here maybe going on, I don't know, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. And he hired myself and our men's coach, Dave Richards, 6 years ago. And he's really injected life into the athletic programs and really has kind of spearheaded I think the rise of the Chatham programs within the President's Athletic Conference. And, now heading into year 6, I think both basketball programs are, in the hunt for championships. And, I think for us, the basketball that we both kind of play, I think it's been a modern brand. And I think for us, where we are in Pittsburgh, the type of academics that we have and the facility, as it really has lent itself to getting some high level players in here, both out of high school and in the transfer portal. And we're now, I think on a women's side, we're now kind of getting into the national stage. And, we've beaten 3 teams that have either gotten votes or in the national top 25 this season. And, we're really looking forward to a big time 2024 for the program.
Absolutely. And, like we talked about backstage, your facility, I had no shame in saying this, when I tweeted out, when I came over there in early November, you guys have a beautiful facility. It rivals LaRoche, it rivals Oglethorpe. And, for you people that are from Atlanta, Oglethorpe has a beautiful facility with the blacktop as well. Chatham's is right there with them. And, they have the digital scoreboard up above. And I was like, oh, man, this is nice. This is really nice. And quite honestly, this is better than a lot of D2 and some low D1 facilities.
No, it is. And I've spent, 16 years doing this at every level and multiple stops at both D1, D2. And our facility for the level we're at, the league we're in, and the type of student support that we get, we're able to pack that thing out. And like you said, with the video board, the upgrades they're making to kind of player introductions and the way they're kind of enhancing everything. It's been a fun home court environment. It's frankly why I think both our men's and women's program have been able to really succeed at home and have deep playoff runs when we get those home games.
Definitely. And you play in the quality conference as well. A lot of people don't know about the President's Athletic Conference, as we call it, the PAC as well. But, that's a really good conference also.
Yo, it is. And routinely, I think, I was in the league back in the day at Teal College coaching the men and the women. And,
yes,
so I have a pretty good history with the league. And, we always have a team in the top 25. I think there's some years that you got multiple flirting with top 25 status. And, it did top to bottom. Really competitive, obviously both sides. Obviously football plays at a really high level as well. You get high academics. And you've got some deep-rooted rivalries in basketball that have been going on for a long time. So it's been fun. It makes it great for our student athletes and obviously the students that come to support. And no shortage of that this year as well.
Definitely. And you just mentioned something that I wanted to touch on as well. It is a high academic school at Chatham, and you're right there at you're right there in the Shadyside, Oakland area of Pittsburgh, which has some really good schools where you have Chatham, you have Carnegie Mellon, you have Pitt, you have Carlow, you have Duquesne down the street. So basically in that 4 or 5 mile radius, you're talking about what, probably 45, 50,000 students.
Well, you're recruiting for me right now. I'm gonna have to put this out there, for the transfers we're looking at. But yeah, I mean that's the big thing. I mean our community is really tight. I mean we're tucked into that kind of green grass, deer on campus environment. But you also, like you said, you've got about 50,000 students within a few mile radius, and you can make it that big city feel within a college environment. And that's frankly, I think recruiting. It's helped us in the transfer market to get players, from a higher level and that type of thing here.
And, like you said, this is year 6 for you guys. And, you and Coach Richards have done a great job of turning that thing into something where people are starting to say, hey, who's this Chatham? Because if I'm not mistaken, on the men's side, they went to the D3 tournament last year, correct?
They did. He's done a phenomenal job. I mean, he's a big time coach and should be probably a multi-time coach of the year in the league, but absolutely. And I think it was cool. We're one of the few teams that, last year had both our men's and women's program playing in the championship game and in the conference tournament. And yeah, it's been a really kind of a, fun community within our two programs, really support each other, and it's a really good culture of basketball at Chatham.
And definitely I could see that. I mean, you had great fan support. Like I said, we already talked about the facilities, and now we're going to touch in more about the school. Tell us about Chatham as a school. We know it's a high academic. What GPA is needed to get into Chatham?
Yeah, you're definitely needing to be above a 3.0. I think that's definitely for sure. I think is any Division III level or even Division II, when you're looking to package scholarship money and what have you. If you're hovering around that 3.5 or better, you're going to be in a really good position. We're a big health science school. We do have a lot of great graduate programs going into physical therapy, physician's assistant. We have nursing, and also have good business. We have an MBA program as well. So, GPA wise, that's what you're looking at. And the unique thing I think with Chatham that they've done a really nice job of, we have a thing called an IDP, integrated degree program, where basically, long story short, you can get your undergraduate degree done in 3 years, and in that 4th year of eligibility, start on that master's program.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And that's how you've been able to get some of those grad transfers as well, correct?
Absolutely. I think some of our best have come in for a lot of those programs. And, it's been a nice kind of put us over the hump in recruiting on the back end when we get to springtime with the transfers.
And let's be honest, and I always like to talk about this. That's the lay of the land now. Like, you have to start looking at those older players and those grad transfers as well. Don't get me wrong, they're experienced, but a lot of them are looking to take advantage of graduating early and working on that master's as well, correct?
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, I don't care any level, even Division I level to a major extent. The ball will stop bouncing at some point, even if you're lucky enough to play professionally. And I think for us, helping our student athletes to come in, to put them in the best position career-wise when they step out of here, whether, finishing that grad program, but also, as we talked about, being in the city of Pittsburgh with multiple Fortune 500 companies, major world-renowned hospitals, they can really set themselves apart professionally while they're with us finishing their eligibility.
And let me ask something, because you just brought up something, and I think that's a good point to talk about as well. Are you guys at the point where you take grad assistants yet?
We are, and we did. So my first 2 years at Chatham, we do have a graduate assistant program coaching wise. We took a young lady, Marlena Tremba, that was a big time player at William and Mary, one of their all time leading scorers from Northern Virginia. Being from Baltimore, I wanted to get somebody close to home, knew her AAU coach. She came in for us, did a phenomenal job, and leaving us went and was an assistant coach with the Naval Academy.
Oh,
and
wow.
She's still there now, Division I assistant. So we do have those programs, and it's something that we're, depending on the year, looking at those opportunities for the program.
Okay. And I like that. So, like you said, you're getting ready to go into conference play. How is the season going so far with the non-conference teams?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. I mean, I think we got off to a little bit of a we went down to McDaniel College for a tip-off tournament. We had a little bit of a rough start. I'd say won 1 out of 2 down there, and we had a early injury to a starter. We had somebody else out, so we were really trying to get our footing the first couple weeks of the year. And once, knock on wood, we've been healthy since that point in time. We've reeled off 10 wins in a row, 3 versus national top 25 opponents, including most recently down in Puerto Rico. We went down for a 2-game event and beat Elizabethtown College, who was number 25 in the country at the time. And
Wow.
I think really put ourselves on the map for the first time on a national stage. And then we won yesterday. We actually had our first conference game back here yesterday at 2:00 against Allegheny College, and won a double overtime thriller on the road there. So we're rolling along 10 in a row. Playing really good unselfish basketball and kind of really hitting our stride now. We gotta keep that, refuse to lose mentality up for the next 2 months.
And I wanted to talk about something as well, which is interesting. As I looked through the roster before we got a chance to jump on the air, and you've been getting some of those D2 drop downs, man. And the reason why I'm speaking on that, because people have this misconception that, okay, only transfers are only going D1 or bust. No, there's transfers going from D1, some going as far down to D3, some are going D2 to D3, and you're taking advantage of that.
Absolutely. And we, where we're at now, and I would say much respect, like a Washington Jefferson College in our league or a St. Vincent, we scrimmage a lot of these high level D2s in the PSAC, and, sometimes we're beating them in these scrimmages. So it's high level basketball here. And I think a lot of the D2 transfers don't really realize how high of a level and good brand of basketball it is. But like you said, I think we've been a soft landing spot for a lot of those type of players. We play a pretty simple but modern style of basketball where they can kind of assimilate pretty quickly. And we've had a lot find success over the last 6 years. And that's kind of lended itself to getting better and better transfers and players wanting to come into the program.
And what makes this interesting is, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, you have Pitt nestled right there, but then you have 3 D3s all right there. You have Chatham, which is right there. You have Carnegie Mellon, which is really hard to get into. And then you have Carlow. So, between you guys and Carlow, it makes a softer landing spot, as you said, because it's still more high academic. And that's what makes that whole area right there for Pittsburgh so good, because you have all those schools, including Duquesne, which are really good schools. But, it's challenging to get into Carnegie Mellon. I mean, like I said, if you're not valedictorian, solicitorian, or something to that extent, it's going to be hard to get in there. But then you could turn around and say, hey, here's Carlow, here's Chatham, here's, of course, there's Carnegie Mellon right there. Of course, there's Pitt and Duquesne that you can go to as well. But you just said it as well. It's one of those situations where people actually don't know. And, I have to laugh myself because, yes, I'm from Pittsburgh. Carlow's tucked away right off of Fifth Avenue as well. And, I've been to the campus, but when I saw that facility, I'm texting everybody and was like, man, have you ever been to this facility before? And they were like, nah. I'm starting to take pictures. And they was like, man, that's nice. I was like, I know. I was like, I never known about it until now that, you guys are starting to gain some steam and, you're hosting events over there and stuff like that. What I would like to see to even give, Chatham and Carlow and even Carnegie Mellon more of a, there's a city game in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
So, you have Pitt versus Duquesne.
Yes.
I would love to see those yearly matchups, whether it's at Carlow, LaRoche, Carnegie Mellon, and you'd have like the city version of the D3 games where you have Chatham versus LaRoche and Carnegie Mellon versus Carlow, and then vice versa, and then make it like a 2-day event on the men's and women's side. What do you think?
Hey, I'm in. We got to figure this out. I think the Hidden Gems Classic or something in Pittsburgh. We got to do it. I love it. I think now too with all those programs. I mean, all play high level basketball, and I think are all at the point where be a really tremendous event for the community, and obviously to kind of put our programs kind of on the map here. So
Hey, listen, Coach Sauer said it first. Don't be surprised if that's something in the future, even between that or even something like the AMCC versus the PAC. That's another thing, like, being hosted at LaRoche or Chatham,
yes,
in that type of situation, because, like we say, Pittsburgh's a great sports market. And, they support D3, D2. We got the PSAC on the D2 side. So the fans attend all of these games. And if you had something like that, I know that would be, well, Chatham would be packed out. It's already packed out, but something
absolutely.
like
that. I would definitely need your help to do that. The only one, Coach Cam at LaRoche does an amazing job. She's the only one that I think would play me. We get Duck now at Chatham from the ACC, so I'm going to need your help. Besides LaRoche, they're always willing to play, and they're big-time programs. But other than that, we're going to need your help to do it. So
listen, I would love to see something like that. Not only is that good for Chatham, the PAC, as well as the AMCC, that's good for Pittsburgh as well. And it's good for D3 basketball as a whole, because I would ask D3 Hoops to come down for that one.
Absolutely. That'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, that would be something phenomenal. Now we're getting off track, but that's something, man, I would love that. You spoke about Chatham, and you spoke about it being high academic, and you spoke about some of the majors that you guys are, really top notch at. You've been there for 6 years. Can you tell us about some of your success stories of some of the people that have graduated from Chatham, some of your players?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I would probably, there's so many over the 6 years. We have, a number that are nurses in some big time hospitals. Athletic training is another big major. We have a number that are doing things across the country with that. But yeah, I think for me, I think it's been the steady success every year of our student athletes. Kind of when you go to that, you're at senior day each year, and my goal when we bring players in, whether it's a transfer or a freshman coming in, when we meet with them in the recruiting process and have them in the office and we're talking about the game plan for the next 4 to 5 years, our goal is always, when we walk across that court for senior day, is that they know where they're going next on that day. And that's usually late February. They already have that next step already figured out. There's no stress going on. And I think that's been kind of the biggest success that we've had. And I give a lot of credit to our university. I think our, academic support and career development teams have done phenomenal jobs with our student athletes. But I think that's the biggest. I don't know if I would highlight, any individual, but just the steady success of our student athletes after they leave here, that they are prepared and have that next step already figured out.
And when you say that next step, let me ask this from a Chatham perspective. Does Chatham have it set up where you have some of those paid internships? Because a lot of times that's the staple for a lot of the D3s that make it really attractive when they come play at this level. Of course, it's, D3 is known a lot of times for high academics. So a lot of times they tie in those really nice internships.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about being in Pittsburgh, a lot of times, like with our career development office, they're able to kind of even get them as they're, sophomore, junior, seniors, slightly off-campus deals. So whether it's with, Fortune 500 company like Google or Dick's Sporting Goods headquarters that is close, getting them high-level paid internships as an undergraduate student. And I think those are big. We also do, I think, what you're referencing too, on campus paid opportunities within whatever field they're going into, whether even athletics, there's great opportunities there. We have a lot of our students and student athletes as undergrads and grad students working in our athletic department. And I think that's another great opportunity for them. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an attractive piece to a lot of the students that we attract.
Hey, man, that sounds really good what you guys are doing, as well as, this is year 6. And, what a lot of people don't understand is, and I want you to just touch on this just a little bit, it takes time to build a program.
Oh, it does. I mean, there's no question. There's no quick fix. And this isn't, Kentucky men's basketball. We don't have, John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins lined up to come in. Like it takes time. And we were coming off, I think when I got here, I believe back-to-back 20-loss seasons and program was in a little bit of disarray. And it takes time. And I think, building a culture, I know it's a buzzword, but kind of building trust and relationships with the roster that's there already and building that foundation kind of set the table for then incoming classes and the success that you find in year, 2, 3, 4. And now we're at in year 6. It's a steady climb. But I think that's a sustainable model, where now whether, I'm here for 25 years or 5 more years, it's something that this program can carry on and find that sustained success moving forward. Now,
I want to debunk something that, a lot of people, they think you guys don't recruit. And when I say that, like, okay, you don't have a D1 budget to recruit, but,
yes.
You're in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You know about Run for the Roses. You know about hoop groups. You know about a lot of these big events, and
mm-hmm.
you guys are there just like everybody else, correct?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And it's and again, like even we talked about earlier, the transfer report, we're recruiting, I'd say maybe even more. And I spent, a number of years at Division I level. The number of days and the events that we can go to, we really don't have a restricted calendar at the Division III level. So really, if you're willing to work, you're willing to grind, like you can be at an AAU practice every night in Pittsburgh during the week in May and, be at every event you want to be at throughout the entire summer and what have you. So I'd argue some of the best programs at the Division III level and to an extent D2, they're out on the road grinding maybe even more than the Division I level. So that's absolutely a myth. And I think to build a program, especially from the ground up, there's no other way to do it. There's no secret sauce. It's grinding and recruiting.
And let me ask this, and this is for, parents that are watching, some of the players that are watching that may be interested in Chatham as well.
Mm-hmm.
If they are showing some interest in, let's just say they're from across the country and you haven't had a chance to look at them, of course, you're going to look at highlights. Of course, you're going to look at full game film. Do you invite them up, quote, to work out before you pull the trigger? What's your method to say, okay, I'm not familiar with you, I've done my research. What would be your method to talk to a kid if they're going to contact you and say, hey, coach, I know you may not have heard from me. I'm from Arkansas. I'm from Louisiana. I'm from
mm-hmm.
Texas. What would be your way of going about this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, you touched on, obviously you look at the highlights, you throw some games on the film. For me, I think we don't do much on our campus in terms of when we bring somebody up and working them out. I try to, when we're going to invite somebody, especially from a distance away, like you're talking about, mm-hmm. we already know we really want them if we're going to invite them all the way to Pittsburgh. But I have no problem. You talk about grinding and recruiting. If we can't find an event that lines up recruiting wise, like you said, Run for the Roses, or my guy John McGraw at Insider Exposure that runs events across the country that I go to often, one of my best friends in the business. If we can't line something like that up and we feel like, watching the film that this is somebody that could be impactful potentially, I'll get in the car or hop on that flight and I'll go down and watch them and whatever they have going on. So we will make that effort to go out and see them live. Yeah.
Yeah, and John does a great job with Inside Exposure. As a matter of fact, it was John Tate from the Bruins that introduced me. John's my guy. That's my guy. And he introduced me to him as well. So, and I usually go to his event in Charlotte during Memorial Day.
Great event. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, he has War Games here in Atlanta also.
Big time. And I meant to tell you, Atlanta, like when I was a couple area, the Division I level, when I was at Stetson and first got my first Division I job, mm-hmm. Atlanta was a big spot for me. We had Isha Turner played at Westlake High School, was a transfer from Clemson that mm-hmm. came to us. And I was at Louisiana Monroe. Ursula Clark, a big time player, went on to transfer to Tulane, was an all-conference kid from Douglasville. And what have you. So, Atlanta has always been, especially Division I level, was always a hot spot for me recruiting wise.
Oh, that definitely. And just to yes, it's a hot spot for D1, but
Yeah.
it's those hidden gems for
Yes.
D2 and
Yes.
D3 where
Absolutely.
people, sometimes they slip through the cracks because, like you said, there's so much good basketball down here. There's a lot of good players, and you start to see some of these young ladies go NAIA, D2, and D3, and they become All-Americans, and they'll say, well, why haven't I heard about her? Well, she played next to Diana Collins, who
Right.
it's hard to say, I can't speak on every coach. And when you have somebody that is a parade All-American, McDonald's All-American, I mean, yes, you're going to get overshadowed sometime. And sometimes it takes somebody like yourself coming down to these events or being referred to as well. And then you take a look and say, well, what's the problem? Like, there's no problem. Just nobody hasn't heard of her yet.
Absolutely. And those are the ones I hold my breath on all school year that, we finish out and they end up on campus. So I'm with you.
Definitely. Hey, man, listen, I appreciate you coming on. So for people that are interested in Chatham, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm on Twitter, pretty active at Coach David Sauer. DM, direct message, what have you. And email. If you Google on the website, you can hit me on email. But any way they want to get in touch, absolutely. We definitely want to continue to expand, the reach of our program across the country. So,
and let me ask this real quick. So for the PAC championship in the conference, if you guys win the tournament, you host, correct?
Yes. So if we win the regular season, we'll host the conference tournament. And right now, knock on wood, right now we're in first place, and that's the hope, because I think that our place, as we talked about, is a big time home court advantage, and for us, that would be a dream come true to host that thing.
And listen, and if you host, count me in. If you host,
absolutely, we would love to have you. I'd love to have you there.
Definitely. So yeah, we'll talk some more about that. But man, I really appreciate you coming on and enlightening everybody about Chatham who doesn't know about Chatham, which is a hidden gem in my opinion, and about D3 basketball. But once you come on the show the first time, you consider family. So this won't be the last time you come on.
Likewise, man. I really appreciate it, and obviously, Happy New Year, and we'll talk real soon.
Definitely, Coach Sauer. We'll talk soon, and you take care. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Listen, Coach Sauer, I'm telling you, for you guys that don't know, like I said, he has D1 experience. So he's going to be one of those guys. He's not just doing this just to fill time. He's building a program, and he's already there. Like you said, he's already been to the championship last year. Now the goal is to get to the NCAA D3 tournament, which he's well on his way. And they're, like I said, they're currently in first place. So they're going to be just fine. Look to hear more from Chatham in the future. And if you guys don't know much about D3 basketball, you can go to d3hoops.com. They have a great website where they enlighten you about all the teams, men's and women's, for basketball. And for me personally, that's the start. For me, I go all over to travel to see these teams play, because I like to see the different brands of basketball, whether it's D3, NAI, D2, D1. I love seeing all these guys, because quite honestly, there's a number of these young ladies that could play at the higher levels, but they choose to play at these schools because they have the majors that they want. And like Coach Sauer said, a lot of times, this basketball is going to stop bouncing when you graduate from college and you're not fortunate enough to play professionally. So just take that into, consideration when you're looking at certain schools, whether it's NAI, D3, D2, and D1. And that leads right into our next guest. Love this guy. This guy is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I mean, he's beloved in all of Ohio. He's Ohio State's all-time leading scorer. He's played in the NBA for numerous teams. And right now he has an NAI in Toledo, Ohio, rolling right now. For you people that don't know, it's Lawrence College, which is right in the Toledo, Ohio area. I went to University of Toledo, so I'm very familiar with Lawrence. I'd like to introduce everybody to Coach Dennis Hobson. How you doing today, brother?
David, how you doing, man? Can you first off, let me ask you, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And I hit you. So, people that don't know about Lawrence, you guys are ranked in the top 25 now, and you got that thing rolling.
I'm trying, man. You know, I think it starts with having high character kids, and that's what we have. And the 5 years, this is my 5th year, and every year I've had a great quality players. And actually, I'm not going to stand for anything less than that because, you know, people talk about winning basketball games, but I always say you can't win basketball games if you don't have high character kids. So we have high character kids, and it's one of those things where, you know, if you can get guys to buy in, which we do, now granted we still have a long season to go, but if you can get people to buy in, good things will happen. And I think to this point, that's what's going on. We're getting guys to buy in.
And I'm glad you talked about that because, as you know, it takes time to build a program. You're in year 5, and, you know, with people that don't know, you built this thing, and, you know, you really didn't have – you've been doing well from the time you've been there. You know, you start out with, you know, what, 16, 17 wins, and then you got it up to 24 wins a couple times, and right now you're well on your way to another 20-win season.
Yeah, we won 20 games every year since I've been here. Actually, we've almost won 90 games, and this is my 5th year. And that second year was a pandemic year. We only played 14 games, and at that time we had 9 wins. And the third year we were the conference tournament champions. So, again, like you said, it's been a blessing to be able to have the guys that we have play for us. And I'm not going to just talk about the guys. I also have a great staff that works with me, and everybody does their part. We got a great relationship, and again, we hold ourselves accountable and we hold the kids accountable, and I think that's a big part of it.
Now, for the people that don't know, tell everybody about the conference that you play in.
We play in the WAC conference, which is a great conference. Indiana Tech, Madonna's, Lawrence Tech, Cleary, Concordia, Cornerstone. So it's a great conference, and more importantly, we have great coaches in this league, and anybody can beat anybody on any given night. So you have to be on your A game when you come to play, and it's super competitive. I like it because it's very convenient for us to get from where we are to games. Most of our games are in Michigan. Indiana Tech is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then we play UNOH, which is in Lima, Ohio.
Yes.
So the travel is great. We're back home in our beds at night after games. The kids can go to school the next morning. And again, man, it's great conference, great players, and it's great coaches in this league.
Now, let me ask you this, and, you know, this is not controversial. Do you feel the NAIA conference that you play in, do you feel it's on the same level as some D2s?
I do. Every D2 we played, we beat them. And actually, we just got through beating Grand Valley State on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's on the same level. The only thing, David, is the whole scholarship piece.
Yes.
That's the killer. And at Lords, we don't have a lot of resources, and we've been doing some great things with very limited resources. But again, I don't know how long you can sustain that, because you have some teams in this league that they get full scholarships. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's the difference between, I would say, the D2 and the NAIA level. D2 schools are going to probably be fully funded.
Yes, sir.
At least 10 scholarships. And,
yes,
you know, we definitely don't have. We definitely don't have that, man, in the NAIA or on the NAIA level. So I think that's the big difference, is they have more resources than we do.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So it's in a kid's best interest. Well, he would be more recruitable, so to speak, if he comes in there with that 3.4, 3.5, and he can get that academic money, correct?
Yeah, and we have both. We have basketball and academic money, but like you said, it does help. The higher the GPA, the more money that we can give. And so, you know, again, it's not always easy to go out and find people with high GPAs that can play the game of basketball. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, you just try to do your best, man. And what's been keeping us where we are, David, is I got a lot of local talent, man. I got a lot of kids.
I saw that.
Toledo, Ohio, man, that were stars in their high schools, and two of our guys, they started off on a D1 level, and it just wasn't for them, and they wanted to transfer back home, and we were able to get them. So we're fortunate. Now, how long does that last? That's the big question.
But you know what? I can speak on that. And I'll be the first to tell you, you're blessed to be right there in that Toledo area, because a lot of people don't know Toledo has some very good basketball. And I remember when I was there, way back when, that's when Owens was rolling as a JUCO, So there's a lot of good basketball. So there's a lot of kids for you to pick from just in that Northwest Ohio area as well.
It is, and it's very helpful. And actually, it's coming back. The Toledo area is coming back. I think it fell off for a little bit, for a few years, but now it's coming back to where it used to be. Starting back, well, back in the '70s, it's starting to pick back up. And again, I think it's good for me to have the relationships that I have with a lot of the parents and a lot of these kids, because I run a big AAU program, so that's very, very helpful as well.
So you run the AAU program out of Northwest Ohio, correct?
Yep, Hobson Elite. So that kind of, so a lot of kids, and I've offered four kids that played for me this past year. So it gives me the opportunity to travel around to different AAU tournaments and watch these kids play and have a relationship with them and their parents.
That's smart. That's really smart. So let me ask this, and this is always it. I mean, you took one of my questions, because I was going to ask, how often are you out at AAU tournaments? But that means you're at some of the premier independent tournaments then, correct?
I am. We jump around. I have a great staff. Like I said, I got two good guys that love the game of basketball, and we get out to all the big events when we can. Now, granted, we have a limited budget, so it's not like we can jump on airplanes and be flying here and flying there. Yeah. But when you talk about Ohio, you got Columbus, Ohio has a ton of players.
Yes, they do.
That's just 2 hours away. They I mean, their basketball there is incredible. You got Cincinnati, which is 3 hours away. You know what I mean? So
Cincinnati,
you got
Cleveland, you got Dayton.
Exactly. You got all that, which we're centrally located, and then we're only 3.5 hours from Chicago, and we're only 3.5 hours from Indianapolis, or Indiana, I should say. So,
and you're about an hour from Detroit,
and we're an hour from Detroit. There you go. So we're able to get where we need to be in order to see talent. And again, I always call it cheating, because I have my own program. So when I'm watching kids play for my program, and they're competing against other kids, I get a chance to see them as well. So it works. It's very helpful.
Let me ask this, just out of curiosity: do you go to Pitt Jam Fest?
I haven't been to Pitt Jam Fest in some years.
Okay.
I know when I lived in Columbus and I had my program in Columbus, we used to play at the Pitt Jam Fest all the time.
Okay.
And this year, actually, we were scheduled to play in it this year, and I can't recall what happened. My 9th, 10th, and 17 U team was going to be there, but something happened, and we decided to change to stay closer to home.
Okay. So let's talk about Lourdes, the college. So
University.
Excuse me. Yes, university now.
College.
What does Lourdes offer for these kids that are interested in looking at Lourdes University now?
We offer everything.
Everything?
Yeah, we offer every major, man. There's nothing that we don't offer. So that's very, very beneficial. We're very big in the sports management side.
Okay.
We're very big in nursing. Now, I've only had one nursing student.
That's tough. That's tough to play and be a nurse.
He graduated. He graduated. But most of my guys are in sports management or some type of business. That's what they come to school for. So again, we have everything that we need. It's just that we lack a little bit of resources sometimes, and I try to be fair with the kids. If I don't think the financial package is right, I will tell them, hey, this is the best we can do. It's up to you if you want to take it. But if it were me, again, to play basketball, because at the end of the day, you got to look at what's going to happen down the road. And I don't want to put one of these kids in a financial situation to where they don't really understand finances right now. And then when they get older, I don't want to see them in the store 10 years from now. They come up to me and say, "Coach, you screwed me, man. I'm still paying on these loans from playing at Lourdes University." So again, we've been fortunate and lucky to this point.
But you know what, Coach Hobson? Yes, you brought up a good point, but I think it's more education now from a parents as well as the prospects as well, because you can't just wait until you're a senior to say, okay, I need to look at the financial side of it, because everybody has a misconception. I'm going on a full ride, or the majority of it's going to be taken care of. You have to get out there and hustle this up and get some of this outside scholarship and grant money. So when I do approach you and I make myself more approachable and more recruitable per se, and say, oh, well, coach, I got 30,000 in outside grant money. Your eyes is going to light up and say, oh, well, shoot, if you're already interested in the young man is what I'm saying. So that becomes more attractive to you because it doesn't cost anything on your budget, because like you said, you only got a couple scholarships. And a lot of times you're trying to break those down to help everybody. Correct?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's what I mean by limited resources. And
yes.
Again, it's one of those things where you never know from year to year who's going to be available. So and
it's not just grades, is what you're saying. It's not just grades. A lot of times it could be financial as well.
That's right. And again, you want to give everybody the opportunity, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things for me, man. And I was fortunate to go on to play because of my talent at the Ohio State University. And mom and dad, all they had to do was send me some pizza money every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had training tables, so you ate good every day. But on this level, it's not like that. So it's one of those things where you try to do the right thing by people. And for me, it's not about wins and losses, man. I'm not going to try to get a kid to come here, and I know it's not right, or the financial side of it's not right, just to win basketball games. That's just me. I can't do it, man. It would play heavy on. It would weigh heavy on my conscience.
Well, and rightfully so, because like Coach Sauer said before you came on, the ball's going to stop bouncing at some point. Whether you're fortunate to play up to your senior year, because to be honest, you have a number of kids. They come as a freshman, they don't end up playing the 4 years of college. And then even if you're fortunate enough to play those 4 years, it's a very low number that play professionally.
That's right.
So that ball is going to stop bouncing. And at some point, did you use this as a vessel to help you into your next phase of life? That's always the question. And a lot of times when I interview kids, I like to always ask, well, what is your plan after this? And I always get the blank stare to say, well, I haven't thought about that. I'm trying to take this as far as I can. And when the interview is over, a lot of times I'll say, hey, man, you really need to think about this because it's coming sooner than you think.
There you go. And here's the thing. The thing with me is that I shared my basketball, my life journey with my kids. And it's and I know my last game at Ohio State, we lost to Georgetown, and I quit school to try to get ready for the draft. Now I was a year and 2 quarters away. And when I was done playing, man, I went back to school at the age of 40 at the Ohio State University, and I graduated at 41. And that was going to class on campus, no online or anything. You had to go to class. So it was one of those things to where I share that information with them because, like you say, you're going to live a lot longer than you play the game of basketball.
Absolutely.
And we just funnel everything through the game of basketball. You know what I mean? It does so many things for you, but it's just not sustainable. It's just not. But it's funny, David, because sometimes now I can be on the freeway, man, driving somewhere, and I'll just start smiling because of me going back to school, getting my degree. And it's something that nobody can ever take away from me. The game of basketball was great. It came and it went. But my degree is sitting in my office on the wall. So it's something I can turn around and I can look at all the time.
That's forever.
And again, I share everything with my kids, man. And I don't have a problem doing that. So it's one of those things where, like you said, we're just going to use basketball as a tool to get what we really need and what we really want, what we should want anyway. And that's
absolutely. And I'm glad to be honest, I'm going to clip that because people need to understand. Unfortunately, Coach, I get so many kids when we were doing our AAU program. Yes, we were getting them in school, but the problem was getting them to the finish line. And, of course, everybody wants to drop their edit, committed, bless the receiver, offer. You know how that goes. But it's once that's all over, as I say, when the lights go out and now it's really game time, when you're going to school every day, are you committed to going to class every
Mhm.
day? It's not about, you know what I see, Coach, and I'm just being honest when I say this. There's a number of kids that just want to play basketball. They don't want to go to school.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's like, again, your love is basketball. But if you want to reach your love on this level, you're gonna have to do what you need to do in the classroom. Okay, because you're definitely not gonna leapfrog over the classroom just to get to your love. It just don't work like that on this level. And again, I think a lot of kids, man, they see, like you said, they watch TV. They see other kids and they see what other kids are doing and they think it's going to be them. And everybody has their own journey, man.
Sure.
And it's just what it is. But I think if we back up in this conversation, when I was talking to you about, or you was talking about the wins that I had, and I was talking about those wins, that's the thing, man. I find guys is committed because, again, if you're not committed in the classroom, if you're not committed to getting to class on time, if you're not committed to getting to practice on time, how can we win, man? We're losing games right there. If you can't go to class every day, you're losing games.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing games. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if I go by that apartment, if your apartment's not clean, you're losing games. You know what I mean? It's just there's a lot of things that you have to put into it before you can start coaching kids and giving them X's and O's. You gotta have high character kids, man, that can understand that.
That you just said the magic words, high character. That high character, and some of them will try and pull the wool over your eyes, but I tell kids, you can try and fool somebody, but that's only going to last for a semester, max.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For you can't pull that facade for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. And unless it just gets to the point where you're an All-American and you putting up 35 points a game, and the school chooses to overlook that, because you bring that type of notoriety. But 9.5 times out of 10, that is not the case.
Yeah, and it's not the case with me either, because I'm going to hold you accountable because I was held accountable. And again, bless his heart, Coach Massimino, I worked for him for a couple of years, and I know we used to disagree sometime on situations like that. Now, I've suspended a couple of my good players before, and I don't have a problem doing that. And it's not the school's rules; they're my rules.
Yes,
they're my rules. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where, like I said, if I can get you to do the right thing, I'm winning basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It might not be a W or L on the website, but in regards to me, we're winning. And then if you're doing the right thing, then I can teach you the game of basketball. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing the right thing, it's going to be hard for me to teach you the game of basketball.
You know what, Coach? And that's excellent what you just brought up. But here's another thing that just irritates me to no end. So now we have, of course, you have the overseas market, and of course, overseas basketball is getting even bigger, which is great. But now you have people having the beliefs, which is so not true. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. You have guys thinking that they don't have to go to college and don't have to have any tape and say, well, I'm still going to go overseas, if I just go to one of these camps and show out.
Well, the camps are money makers.
Exactly.
The camps are money makers. I mean, they're gonna invite you in to get your money. And I don't know how many of the European scouts are actually there at those camps. So those are money makers. And it's
the only one I would halfway be like, okay, because they're going to be there regardless, is the one out in Vegas.
Now that's big time though.
Yeah.
And they're not just taking anybody.
Exactly.
They're just not taking anybody. You're not going to see a gym full of guys that can't play just because they're not doing that. Okay. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, you can go to one in Vegas, but again, it's almost a select few that's going to be there. And those are guys that are borderline.
But they have a resume though, Coach.
There you go. And that as well.
Yeah, they have the resume. So, like you said, they're getting invited off that resume, whether they were all Big Ten or all OVC or something where people know who these guys are. Very rarely they're going to take some street ball legend and say, "Come on."
That's right.
But you'd be surprised at how many kids come to me and say, "Well, I'm just going to go on these camps and show out, and I'm going to be able to go somewhere." And which leads me to something else. And since you had the pro experience, I love to talk to you about stuff like this. these guys have no idea that even if you are fortunate to go overseas, you're playing on one of those lower level leagues. You're making maybe $1,000 a month max.
Hey man, it's not even worth it, David. It's not worth
That's
it.
what my point. That's where I'm going, Coach.
Here a couple of things. You can be over here at McDonald's making more. Okay, that's the first thing.
Exactly.
And then the second thing, all the years that you're wasting making that kind of money is just years that you're cutting off your retirement, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can, but again, it's unfortunate. But here's the thing: 80 to 90% of those guys, they wouldn't even survive in one of those third world countries. They wouldn't even survive 2 weeks there, man.
Really?
They wouldn't do it. They couldn't make it, man. I never had to play over there, but I know guys that have played over there. And it's tough. It's tough. It's not like where I played when I was, Paris or France France, Spain.
But you're talking, exactly. You're talking Euro leagues. Those are money leagues. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not in Slovakia somewhere on the C League or D League. There's not even a guarantee you're going to get paid.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. So again, man, it's unfortunate because, like you say, when you talk to those guys, that's all they think about, and then they don't have a backup plan.
Exactly. So when they go make that $1,000 for 4 or 5 months and come home, you have $5,000. What are you going to do?
Nothing. Not a whole lot. You better find something to do in the next 2.5 months when it runs out.
But you know what, Coach? And that's why I'm so glad you brought that up, because now you have totally put school off. You've trained your way up to, let's just say you were fortunate enough to make it to the C League or D League. You find out you're not in one of those top Euro leagues because you have to work your way up. Now you're home. Let's say you played 4, 5, 6 months over there. So let's say you got $6,000. You're back home now. Everybody's looking at you at the barbershop. Oh, yeah, he went overseas. But little do they know, you are broke.
That's right. It's tough, man. And then you're constantly, it's like a dog chasing his tail. You're trying to catch your tail, man, and it's never ever going to work, man. And you come home and it's the same thing all the time. You're fighting, trying to find that next job, because more than likely that team that had you the year before, they're not going to bring you back for a second year.
Or they may have folded as well.
There you go, because they can't afford it. Or like you said, they didn't pay people, and it's like, no, we're just going to, like you said, we're going to close shop. It's just, man, it's not worth it. Like I said, the game is great. Allow it to be great to you or for you if you're fortunate. And then you have to move on, man, and figure out what needs to be done. But you need to do that while you're playing the game.
Let me ask this: does Lawrence have any graduate programs, or is it just all undergrad? So they do have.
Yeah. So I got a grad player this year.
Okay, so you got a grad player. Do you take grad assistants?
Yeah, we will. Yeah,
you will. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. And see, I'm asking these questions because what I want out of this, and of course, I appreciate you being on the show, is the people to understand the educational side of this. Of course, I want you to get. You're already rolling. You're in the top 25 for NAI, but I want these kids to be able to get this degree and be able. Don't get me wrong. We all have great stories to share from college and this, that, and the third. But at least be able to go somewhere and get hired because you have this degree, and someone, whether it be a vice president or of the school, or whether it be an academic advisor, can speak on your character for a job reference. Not just to say, oh, yeah, well, he can put in 30 points a night. Well, how is he as a person? Oh, well, he can put in 30, 35 points a night. And that's all they keep harping on. I think we failed these kids if that's the case.
Man, and again, a lot of people, they do fail these kids for wins. And I'm just not that one, man. I think I come from a household to where discipline and structure was very, very important. And there's nothing wrong with discipline and structure. Now, granted, a lot of kids don't want discipline and structure. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be on my program, there's going to be discipline, there's going to be structure, and accountability. It plays a major part. And again, I think when I share my story, I get them to understand, hey, I'm in this for you. This is not about me. I'm not here to talk about me. I just want to share my stories, things that I did good, things that I didn't do so good, okay? At the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I want you to know while while you're playing the game of basketball, this is what the game is for. And you're going to use the game for that. Okay. The whole interviewing skills, the whole knowing how to talk to somebody and shake their hand, look them in the eye, the whole being placed on time. But they know even on the bus, man, if you're not there when that bus is leaving, I'm going to leave you. And David, I don't care who you are, man. I don't care if you're my number one guy. If you're not there, I'm leaving. I left one of my assistants last year. And you know what?
Accountability.
His car broke down. And you know what my thing was? Like I tell people, I would never, ever be late as long as I know what time it starts. You know why? Because I'm going to give myself time. You know, I mean, if I got a flat tire, I just jump in another car. Okay. But if a train comes, I got time to wait. It's not like rushing to get somewhere 15 minutes before you need to be there. No, but I express or explain all that, man. That kind of stuff is important for me. I think, like you just said, when somebody asks about me, I'll use me. Somebody asks about Dennis Hopson, I don't want them to just talk about me as a basketball player, man. I want them to be able to talk about me and tell them who I really am if they really know me. That's what's important for me, okay? I had a short basketball career, but I got a long life, I hope. So that's what I want to be known for. And I get the kids to understand that.
But Coach, here's the thing. What a lot of these kids don't understand is what you're instilling with discipline, character, and accountability. I like to call it DCA. That ties over to the basketball court. That ties over to the basketball court. You know, one of the biggest shocks a lot of kids from high school get, and I know you're going to attest to this, everybody is quote unquote the man in high school.
Right.
And then when they get to college, you quickly see, oh, I'm just a regular guy. And I'm not saying that you're not good, but what you can do in high school, you can't get away with a lot of times in college. Like you have to work and you have to figure out, okay, what is my niche here? Because now I'm not going to be able to hit 30 points a game. Now I'm not going to get 20 rebounds a game. What are you going to do to add value to Coach Hopson to give you more minutes, extended minutes on the floor?
You're right. Now here's my motto. If you're a star, I want you to be a star.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a role player, I want you to be a star within the role that you play.
But how many kids like to accept that they're role players?
It's tough. It's tough, David. But you know, that's when I start pounding my assistants with the whole good cop, bad cop thing. Okay, and I'll pound them because I'm gonna pound my guys. I'm gonna stay consistent with my guys, and some of my guys are gonna look at me like I'm foreign. And the reason they look at me like I'm foreign is because it's like I've never had this type of discipline / structure before.
Yes.
Okay, so hey, that's Coach Hop. That's Coach Hop. That's Coach Hop. Well, Coach Dupree, Coach Loft, Coach Corrigan. Now it's on you to offset me. You know, and so I pound my assistants just like I pound my players. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be there, this is the way it's going to work. And I tell you what, man, good. I better knock on wood. I've never, ever gotten a call in the morning or late morning saying, hey, you got to come down here and get your kid. He's just done X, Y, and Z. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they know that going in. I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to stand for you going out doing something wrong. And I got to come and bail you out because it just gives the school a black eye. It gives the coaching staff a black eye. It gives your family a black eye. Man, we're not dealing with all that nonsense, man. I'm not just to win no basketball games. We're not doing that.
But Coach Hopson, here's the thing, and this is the business end of it. There are plenty of kids waiting to take his place.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean, but that's where we're at in this basketball. These opportunities are limited now. You have schools closing. You have these international kids starting to come on the scene. Like, you don't have to deal with that. And that's what kids don't understand. Unless you 6'10" and you just are something out of this world. Well, first of all, if you're that,
you're not gonna be playing for me.
Exactly.
You're not gonna be playing for me.
So it has to be understanding like, okay, I'm here because this is my level, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the same sense, you could easily say, hey, man, listen, if I go on my Twitter now, I probably got about 50 DMs of coaches trying to send me players.
Inboxes, that's right, man. And then people calling you, texting you, coach. I mean, I if I went on there right now, David, I probably got about 10 of them.
Oh, I can
I got
imagine.
such and such. If you're interested, such and such. He's 6'5", he's 6'2", he's 5'4", he's 4'11". You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna be on there.
He's a day one starter.
That's right, man. That's right. So you're right. You know, it's you know, you want to follow through with what you started. Like I tell guys, and we call it our $1 million circle, where we stand around the half court, the jump circle, when we talk before practice. And I tell them, I hope that this circle doesn't get any smaller. You know what I mean? I hope that this circle stays the same. But at the end of the day, if you can't do what needs to be done, and you know what, David? I had about 4 or 5 of them this year. That's gone. That's gone. And just couldn't do it, man. Couldn't do it in the classroom. And I go check classrooms. I go and I walk past the classroom and I don't see a guy in there. And I'm asking you, how come you didn't go to class? And you tell me, well, you didn't feel like it. Hey, wait a minute. Feeling like it and dying is 2 totally different things, man. You know what I mean? It's 2 totally different things. You know what? Sometimes I don't feel like it either. But how many times have I called you guys and said, I don't feel like coming to practice today? And if anybody was to do that, it would be me. And I don't do that. So why would you do what you're doing? Understand what your purpose is and why you're here.
You know, that's 100% correct. But I want to take it further than that. Man, you could just be straight out blunt. Like, man, this is my job. This is how I feed my family.
Yeah. And that's what I tell them.
Yeah.
I say, man, I'm going to be honest with you, Dave. I know it's not Ohio State, but like I tell them, I'm going to run it like I'm at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm going to run it like I got all the pressures in the world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and they're part of that. You know what I mean? So you can't be going out here doing unethical things. And no, man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it the right way, man, if I can. And it's been working for us to this point, and we're gonna try to continue that. And again, I think it starts with having good people around you.
And as we start to wrap this up, let me ask you this. And again, I like to ask, and I like people to hear this from you and not from me, because then it's not me saying, oh, coach is being a hater per se. Man, how many kids approach you about interest in your program or thinking they can play for you? And I'm asking this for a reason, but go ahead and answer that.
A ton. And it's one of those things where that's another thing you get inboxed. Hey, coach, I was looking at your program and I believe that I can play for you guys. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things to where you just can't, David, you just don't have enough time in the day to be entertained.
To go through all of that, exactly.
Yeah. You just don't have enough time in the day, man. If you want to be successful, you don't have time to be responding to that, because you would never get any work done. That's the first thing. And then 2, you're reaching out to me. So what is that? And then you're way across country. You're over in Florida somewhere. You know how many NAIA schools are in the range between Florida and Ohio? Why would you be reaching way out to me? So that right there lets me know something's going on. Okay. Something's going on. And again, I would never discredit a kid, man, because I'm not in the business to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm honest, like you just said. We're old school guys, man, and people were honest with us. So again, I know we're dealing with new wave kids, but I'm not going to sell myself short on who I am. I'm gonna be honest. But I just don't have time to be entertaining all the kids that reach out to me.
And that's where I'm going with this. And it's, I talk to so many kids, and I tell guards all the time. I'm like, man, listen, if you're under 6'2", it's tough. You better find something to stand out. I said, because if not, and if you're 6'2" and you don't have grades, I'm like, now you cut it down even more.
Yeah. Because that's easy to find. I can find 6'2" with grades all day long.
Exactly.
That size, you can find that all day long.
And that's why, I brought that up, because, there's some kids that either they're watching it live or they will watch the recording of it. And I harp on this and be like, man, listen, you're good. But man, do you know how many kids in the country are just like you?
That's right. That
either got grades or stand out in some other form. And I said, sometimes it's just, they may know somebody that may know Coach Hobson.
That's right.
Get him to entertain. Okay, well, let me take a look, because I know if this guy is bringing them to me, I know he has vetted him to some extent.
Right.
Excuse me.
That's right.
And so, like you said, and I'm so glad you said that from, hey, coach, my name is David Jones, and I believe I can play for you. I mean, and again, kids that are listening, I'm not saying, let me be upfront. I'm not saying don't reach out and cold email, because you don't never know you may look at it one day and be like, you know what, I kind of like this kid.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I said for any coach, I mean, you better do it to more than one coach. Let's put it like that, because if you're doing it out of 100 or 200, you may get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that may respond. Now, the other thing that irks me, when they do get the response, let's say they got 5 or 6, now they want to act funny. And let's say you were the first one.
That's how they are, man. You're right. Especially on, especially on this level. Like you said, if I reached out to somebody trying to recruit them, depending on who they are, they're going to big time me. Because like we talked about earlier, everybody wants to be a D1 guy.
Yeah.
So and everybody thinks they're a D1 guy. So they're going to big time you. It might be that same guy that's big time you that will call you at the end like, hey, coach, are you still interested? I know you reached out to me early on.
Once they're in the portal, because where they went, whether it's D2 or lower level D1 or wherever they went, didn't work out. And I'm so glad you just said that, because there's a way you handle business, and the way you handle business to say, well, coach, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. There's 2 other schools I looked at, and I feel like this is a better opportunity, but I wanted to give you the respect to say, hey, I'm going to choose this option instead. And that goes a long way, because if it doesn't work out, you're like, you know what, this kid can play. At least he gave me, the opportunity to say, hey, he wasn't interested. I can respect that. And if there is an opening, if at the right time, whether you lost a kid, like you said, whatever the case may be, then you're like, you know what? He handled it the proper way. Let me see at least what he's about.
That's a professional way.
Exactly.
That's what you just said. That's a professional way. But you'll get guys, man, that won't even return phone calls.
Won't return phone calls or texts. And listen, I've seen this too many times where you were interested, you were to the point where you're ready to offer. They totally stopped responding with you.
They quit
in
responding.
6-7 months or a year later. Hey, coach, is that still open?
Yep. I've had that happen multiple times, man. It's unfortunate, like you said. And here again, the way you just said it, the professional way. Again, that's what I try to stress and teach my guys, man. You have to be. It's okay. You know what? I was always taught yes is the best answer, no is the second best. Okay, but at the end of the day, when you don't respond at all, it's just so unprofessional.
You're totally burning bridges.
Yeah. It's not right. And again, like you said, man, I've had that happen more than a few times. They will big time you in a minute,
and have to be humble when they don't have any other options, or when they find out they get in the portal, and 43% of those guys that are in the portal
don't go. Yeah, they're done.
So now they come to you begging, like, coach, I walk on. I'll do whatever I need to do. It's too late. You burnt that.
It's too late, because, David, it just kind of shows your character. You know what I mean? Unless you change in the last year or the last 6-7 months, it shows your character. Because, like I said, I'm okay with you telling me no. Yeah. I have no problem. I would rather you tell me no than not respond at all. You know, that's just me. But again, it's just like you said, over 40% they're stuck. They think they're trying to run from something. You can't run from yourself, man. Like I tell my kids, hey, if you can't make a jump shot here, you can't go across the street and start making jump shots. You know what I mean? The scenery might look different, but what's going to change if you don't put the work in and get better? You know, but they try to run from themselves, man, and you can't run from yourself, man.
But see, before we end this, and I know your pain because I'm familiar with that area. You're going to have kids that try and big time you and be like, well, I'm going to go down to Toledo or Bowling Green, and, I'm going to see if I can get on there.
Yeah, I've had it twice, man.
Oh, I know you have. But trust me.
Yeah, I've had it twice.
And then it doesn't work out there.
Then they're like they're waiting, and then when you don't respond, that's when they decide to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, it's like, you know, I don't mind you coming back, but like you said, leave
the
on a
right
good note.
way.
Yeah. Leave the right way on a good note, and people can respect that. They can respect that. They can.
I couldn't agree with you. Hey, Coach Hop, listen, man, you gotta send me your schedule because I've been saying I gotta get up to see a Toledo game, but man, what you doing up there, man? I got to see what's going on, man.
I appreciate it. We trying, man. We're trying. Like I said, I got good kids, man. I ain't gonna lie. I got good kids, but I'm hoping and praying that it's sustainable. I'm hoping and praying.
Well, let me ask this. So, as you get into conference play now, you know, with it being January, if you win your conference, do you guys host as well?
Yeah, we host.
So you would host the whole tournament, or just maybe the first round game or second round, or the whole thing?
We'll host the whole tournament.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we will host the whole tournament.
If y'all win, let me know. If y'all win, I know my way to Toledo.
Yeah, I definitely will, man. We're 6-0 in conference. We play again this Wednesday. I think we got 5 more games before the first half is over, and then we start our second half. Things have been, like I said, things have been going well. People have been healthy. That's the other thing, man. Trying to keep people healthy.
Yeah.
So again, I think if we can continue to do what we've been doing and continue to compete and continue to play as a team, I mean, we'll win some basketball games. But I don't want anybody pat me. I appreciate it. I'll take it. But again, man, pat me on the back at the end. You know what I mean? Because it's a long season. Anything can happen, man.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything.
Or here's the other thing I always love when it gets towards the end of the season, it's that team in 3rd, 4th, or 5th place that gets hot. It gets hot. It goes on the run at the end of the year.
Yeah, they start steamrolling, man. That's what we did. I mean, granted, we were in 3rd place, but that's what we did the 3rd year when we won the conference tournament championship. I mean, we just rolled through everybody. You know,
and see, people aren't expecting that because you're in 3rd or 4th place.
That's right. I mean, we ran through, man, made the tournament that year. So it's been great, man. We've made the tournament the last few years. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing and continue to stay healthy, man.
That's
continue to work together.
That's definitely the key. Hey, Coach Hop, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on, you know, spending your time on New Year's Day. Definitely best of luck to you the rest of the season. And, man, you know, like I said, you know, I have a number of friends still up there at Toledo. I need to get up there and see. And, you know, I knew about Owens. I knew about Toledo. But, when a lot of my friends would tell me, man, Coach Hop got Lawrence. Well, I was like, wait, what? I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take a look at that.
Yeah, I appreciate you, David, for reaching out, man. I really do. Let me know if you come. Let me know.
Oh, definitely. I definitely will,
man. House, man, whatever. Just let me know, man.
Appreciate you, man. Definitely. But, man, this won't be the last time you're on the show. And now that I know that you're on the AAU scene, I mean, of course I go to all the shoe ones, but I go to the independent ones as well. You might want to look at Recruit Look, Coach, as well.
Okay. What is it?
Recruit Look. I'll text it to you.
Text it to me.
Because they're the Midwest independent one. They're a good one.
Yeah, text it to me.
Okay, I sure will. I'll text it to you, man. I appreciate you coming on, man, and Happy New Year, okay?
Dave, Happy New Year, man. Stay, God bless, all right?
Definitely, man. Take care, Coach.
Okay, all right.
All right. Coach Hopson, let's listen, man, great guy. You know, he brought up some great points that for a number of you parents and kids that are listening, you need to pay attention. And, you know, yes, I talk about the DCA, you know, when you talk about those important factors that'll make you a good player as well as a good person in life after basketball is over, because even what Coach Sauer said earlier, this basketball is going to stop bouncing in the next, for you guys that are in college, in the next 1 to 4 years. Very few of you all are going to be fortunate enough to play overseas. And then some of you all are going to discover, this is what I love as well. I've seen some guys that have been able to have opportunities to go overseas and turn it down because they were going to make more money starting their career. I love to see that. That's the biggest thing. You know, I'm not saying I love to see them turn down a professional, opportunity. Sure, that's great, but you got to understand that professional opportunity is only going to be for the next couple of years, and you starting your corporate job or whatever you decide to do, or start your own business, whatever the case may be, is going to last much longer than you playing basketball. And Coach Hopson is a prime example of that. He has multiple NBA experience as well, multiple years, playing in the NBA. And, you know, like you said, your life outside of basketball is going to be a lot longer than what it is inside of basketball. That'll do it for tonight. Thank you all for joining me on a New Year's Day, Happy 2024 to everybody. I hope everybody has their New Year's resolutions intact. I know I got to get mine intact for this year, and stick to them if you do set them. Don't let your resolutions be over by the end of January. So you guys take care, and that'll do it for Hoops Hitting Gems. I'm your host, David Jones. Take care.